Just gonna go ahead and try to share this with some folks over there on the YouTube. Or not the YouTube, the Facebook. 'Cause I know there's gonna be some people that want to know about this. I mean, I'm sure someone wants to know about it. Alright, music. That was aggressive. I liked it better when it was like slow jams. Alright. Yeah, I know there was a new login to my account. It was me. I did that. Alright, set that link. Let everyone on Facebook know that we're going live. What's on your mind? Come join me. I'm about to ramble about Middle Earth, about the Middle Earth CCG live on Twitch. Boom. And so then I'm gonna share this post to everyone on those different groups. Share to a group. Bump, boom, boom. Bump, ba dum ba da bo. Bo ba da bo bo. Ba da bo. Boo doo boo. Ba da ba bo. Alright. So I've shared those. Well, I guess I might want to keep Facebook open over on the right-hand side. People might be interested or sending me some responses. I want to make sure those go over there. I don't know if this music's good for me or not. I just want to keep, like, vibing instead of, like, doing anything else. Maybe this is just going to turn into a vibe stream. Is that not appropriate? Well, while I wait for people to get here, I'm just going to sort some cards. Because I'm going to try something a little later. See if it works. Not sure if it will, but something to do. So I'm gonna, let me see, switch to the tabletop version. Look at this. Yeah, right there. So let's sort out our minion cards from our not minion cards. Our resource cards. Yeah, that's the correct name. Do 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 do. You get a prettier picture for hanging out over there if we're just gonna do something a little different for now. Yeah, that's good for now. Alright. Let's sort until we get some friends. Oh, we got some people slowly showing up. Hey guys. Thanks for coming to hang out. I'm gonna get talking a little bit more about what we got going on here. But I'm just gonna sort some cards right now. Oh, maybe they're pretty sorted already. Oh, I guess I did that a while ago. So yeah, I'm just sitting here gonna sort some cards for Middle Earth CCG and answer some questions about it. What I'm doing right now is getting this, what's called an Arda deck sorted and put together. Because that's something I really think is like one of my favorite parts about this game. And I want to share it with some people. But in order to, until I get maybe a couple people coming to interact in the chat, I figured I'd go ahead and sort some cards. Looks like I might have done that already. I'm not sure if that means I'm happy with past me or not. I did set up some new stuff, so if my chat's delayed or if it's not going in right, I apologize. I'm going to try to get that figured out for us. But like I did try to get a whole bunch set up today, so that the stream would be a little bit more professional, a little bit better for you. That way we can make it a little bit more fun for my two viewers. That's like twice as many concurrent viewers I had the last time. That's growth, baby. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Is that not growth? Do you not feel like that's growth?
What?
I feel like that's growth.
I have headphones on.
I'm talking on a stream, baby.
I thought you were talking to me.
No.
You said baby.
Well, I said that's growth, baby. Like,
Okay.
like in an exciting way.
Great.
I'm sorry that was confusing to you. I understand why it was. Well, anyway, thanks for joining. What I want to do today is I'm going to go through kind of cards, how you play the Middle Earth CCG, and then after that, kind of go into this variant that I really am passionate about. So I plan on streaming for about 2 hours, so I've got some time. And I want to make sure that I'm on here long enough that people can get in and they don't really miss anything, so... It looks like we got those first 2 viewers who came in from, I'm guessing, Facebook. If you guys are from the Facebook group, thanks for joining. If you could tell me which Facebook group you joined from, that would be nice. Just because it would be neat to know if which groups are more engaged with this sort of content. Just want to make sure I'm doing it the right way, you know, that way you guys are getting something out of it. Go to my live stream? My home? Okay, there we go. I'm live! Yeah, I know, I'm live. I want to manage the stream and make sure I'm doing it right. Can I see the chat? Is that a thing I can do? Okay. I don't think there is any chat, so that's good. That is what it is. But it looks like everything's going the right way, so... Yeah. I'm gonna pop back over, and we're gonna do the zoomed out version that is a little bit more for cards. Oh, this is the card browser one. Just need to open up my card browser. So let's talk about Middle Earth CCG. And while I just kind of give an overview of this game, let's go and start with the one. Let's keep the one, put the One Ring up there, because that's going to be a card that, you know, is instantly recognizable. It's instantly a cool card. It's a cool image. And it's kind of emblematic of some of the things that are super cool about the Middle Earth CCG and things that are eccentric about the Middle Earth CCG. So one of the first things I like to point out is, so this is the One Ring. It's an important card. It does a lot of stuff, but just look at the text box on this card. It has a huge amount of text. That's pretty much the hallmark of this entire game. I really enjoyed some of the stream that I was listening to earlier, was referring to their this game as kind of like reading a book. That it's okay that it has so many words in it because it's a Lord of the Rings game. And Lord of the Rings is a huge book with lots of words, and that they kind of felt like they were reading the Lord of the Rings while they were playing this game, just because there's so much involved and so many words that go through with it. So let me just kind of get there. So we have the One Ring. In this game, you're going to be playing as one of the 5 wizards. So if you're familiar with, you know, like the movies or anything like that, you're probably familiar with people like Gandalf. Gandalf the Grey, he's going to be one of your main wizards. You also have Saruman, you know, that guy. Most of you probably know Saruman. I like how they look. Also, one of the things about this is that because it is it predates the films, the art can be a little different. Like Gandalf, you know, Gandalf looks like Gandalf. It's not quite Ian McKellen, but, I mean, got the big hat, long beard. That's Gandalf, right? Well, Saruman looks a little different. Very spooky. He's not quite Christopher Lee, but he's still spooky, and I like that. But one of the other things is neat. So, like, if you saw The Hobbit or you read The Hobbit, you might know people like Radagast. If you read the appendices, you might have heard of people, or the Silmarillion, the other of the 5 wizards. We can also play as Palando, and Alatar, which I think is actually one of the cooler things about this. As someone who's like a huge Tolkien fan, you kind of get the vibe of this game is kind of role-playing-ish. Like, in it you can kind of do what you want and make the Middle Earth world your own. So you can recreate or reenact a lot of the things from the books. Also, you can subvert those just by building your deck the way you want it, or in my form, drafting a certain way and then kind of making do. So I'm going to go back to Gandalf and kind of show you. So in this game, you play as one of the 5 wizards, and your deck is built to help them achieve some goals. In this game, there are 3 ways to win the game. You can kill your opponent's wizard. That one's easier said than done. I'll actually say, I mean, it's not necessarily that hard, but it's more of if your opponent gets greedy and puts their wizard into a dangerous situation, then, or you lay a particularly good trap, than it is that your wizard is going to die that often, at least in the games that I've played. But I'm also a pretty cautious player because if he dies, you're out. You can also win the game by getting the One Ring, taking it to Mount Doom, and playing one of the cards that makes it die. It makes you destroy the ring. If you destroy the ring, you win the game. That's a lot harder to do than it is just to talk about. I've yet to dunk the ring, but I'm very excited to try. In fact, one of the solo decks I built is all about dunking the ring, so maybe I can make that happen sometime during once we get out of quarantine. Let's see. The basic way to win this game is to collect the most points and generate the end-of-game scenario called the Free Council. Once the Free Council is put together, your characters count up all of their marshalling points. You can see marshalling points in the top left of the One Ring right here. That is the marshalling points. You have to have at least 20 or 25 in some tournaments to trigger the council phase anyway. And then once that's triggered, there are some other steps you go through, but whoever has the most points at the end of this phase wins. So as you can see, the One Ring, that's a 6. If 20 is how you trigger the end game, 6 gets you pretty far the way there. So let's talk about those points. Let's talk about Gandalf a little bit while I got him up. So your wizard acts like a character that we have in the game, and your characters are going to be moving around using things called sights. So I'm just going to pull a sight real fast, just to get like Rivendell. In the standard version of the game, you would have these sight cards, and you have a whole deck of them. You pull them out one at a time, and your characters are traveling to the different sites. Some of them are basic. These are havens. Havens are where your characters heal. They're where you reset. They're where you can play certain cards. But you might also be going to... let's go to Barad-dûr. That's a pretty scary place to go. You might be going to some scarier places. In this game, the locations give you keys on where bad guy cards can get played on you. They tell you what kinds of cards can be played there. Some locations, like Barad-dûr, which is one of the evil fortresses, it actually has things that attack you just by going there. And they even have extra rules. They'll also tell you how many cards your opponent and you get to draw when you visit there. So you see it like faces them, faces you. So kind of gives you an idea of how scary these places can be. You'll play characters throughout the game. So let's pull someone like Aragorn. He's a dude people like. So characters can be worth marshalling points. So some characters are really good at helping you finish the end of the game. The way to think about the Free Council is that it's... You know how in Fellowship of the Ring, Gandalf formed the Council of Elrond and had everyone come together, and they all decided what to do with the fate of the ring, so that way they could march on Sauron however they thought they'd do it, and beat the game. Essentially, this game is everyone trying to be the one who calls that council. So instead of being Gandalf and Elrond's council, maybe this is Saruman and Eomer's council, and they decide to go to war with him instead of doing it more, sneaky. So that's part of the things you're doing in this game. So that's why some characters can be worth a hefty sum of marshalling points as well. Characters there's no costs in this game for like how characters. So there's no mana, there's no gold, nothing that's like a cost associated with putting characters into play. It's more about how many things can you kind of balance at once. In this game, it's called General Influence. Typically, you have 20 influence that you can use at a time. So that's going to be represented by this white head right here. So Aragorn, being a particularly powerful character, he's the king who should be on the throne. He's 9 points by himself to be to take out of your general influence. As opposed to someone, say, who might be important but is not necessarily as a big character. Let's find someone like Éomer or Éowyn. Is she there? Where is she? Come on, show me cards. I have to be logged in to see Éowyn. That's weird. Let's just go to Pippin, I guess. Yeah, bring Pippin out. Pippin, not quite as influential. He's going to have 4 general influence to control. And some characters are even less important than that. Like, one of the other neat things about this game is you get some pretty obscure characters. Like, maybe if you're like me, you remember that there's a captain of the guard who hung out with Pippin while he was in Gondor and showed him all around. And well, there's Baragond. He's that guy. He's just a dude who lives in Gondor at Minas Tirith, and he shows you around. He's got some fights. So he's a good example of some character we can look through. So in the game, they also have this little thing here called Direct Influence. Particularly strong characters may be able to take characters under their influence. So let's say Baragond, he has 2 Direct Influence. Aragorn, I think I got him pulled up. He's got a 3 there. So he could actually essentially take Baragond under his wing, and then Baragond would no longer count against your 20. So that's how you can get a lot more characters in play, is this if you have them kind of work together, kind of make their own little groups as they go through. So let's go back to Baragond. Where was he? Here he is. So characters also have types. So he's a warrior Dunedain, which is the type of like high men. If there's elves and high elves, then Dunedain are the high humans to human. You see that on characters like Aragorn. Aragorn is a warrior, scout, ranger, Dunedain. Even Pippin's got some scout. He's a scout hobbit. Your wizards have like crazy. Gandalf is a warrior, scout, sage, diplomat, wizard. Bro's got a lot going on, but it's Gandalf, so I guess that makes sense. So Baragond, that's going to be key off of different cards. So some things like weapons, certain weapons say can only be attached to a warrior. So then Baragond can get those. Checks out, right? Things like Ranger, there are cards that say like a Ranger lets you move through the forest differently. Cards that let scouts just hide from combat. So what's your character's skills are really important to help you kind of gauge where that goes. Or what direction your deck's gonna go. That's what's important for that. The cards have card text. In this game, if you look at characters like Aragorn, he doesn't have a lot of card text. Despite the fact that like there's a huge text box. That's because most of the characters don't have that much going on. There's other cards that will give them stuff to do. Aragorn has +2 influence against the Rangers of the North. Those were his ranger dudes that hid in the town of Bree with him. So if you're going to play those cards, he'd have a bonus. We'll go over what factions do later. He also has a special rule that if he dies, he's worth fewer. He actually like dings you marshalling points. Each character has a home site. If the character isn't in your starting party, so in the game you get to start with 5 characters, and it has to be within your 20 general influence to start the game. They can start however starts, because that's like, that happened before the story started. That was who you get. But after that point, if you want to play any of the characters you draw in your draw deck, you have to go to their, like, where they live to pick them up. So this game is very thematic, that you have to, like, literally play the card, Bree. You have to go to the Prancing Pony to find Aragorn, because that's where he's, sitting in the corner smoking a pipe. He's not just partying out in the world, he's there. Same goes with, like, Pippin. Like, Pippin's gonna be in Bag End. He's in the Shire. He ain't out there, you know, partying in Rivendell. He's the Shire, so if you don't start with them, you gotta go get them. Which is a pretty neat mechanic, in my opinion. I always like that. It lets you kind of, like, theme your deck. So if you know you're gonna be hanging out in, like, the northwest area, you're gonna be around the Shire and Bag End and maybe some dragon areas, so you know what characters to put in your deck. Yeah. Each character also has down here in this little shield, a prowess and a body. Or if you're familiar with like magic, like power and toughness, or strength and defense. It's how well they attack a creature, fight off an attack, and if they get hurt, how well they can survive. One of the other things that's neat about this game is that you do use a pair of d6s to resolve a lot of stuff in the game. So if your character goes to fight, you'd be rolling 2d6 plus your 6 number to fight off a monster. As an example of how tough monsters can get, maybe it's just like let's find like a goblin. Like just like an orc. What's like a random orc dude? What about like this orc patrol? Yeah, that ain't much. They're 6. He's gonna beat them every time. No problem. Whatever. Orcs. What? Who cares? But like, what about the Balrog? How big's? He's not a good example. How about like Smog? Smog got numbers. Yeah, so Smog. He's a 17. Aragorn's a 6. Aragorn needs to roll an 11 to fight Smog. No, wait. 6 plus 12 is 18? Yeah, 6 plus 11 is 17? Yeah. He's gonna roll an 11 to fight Smog. And that doesn't even kill him. Afterwards, he then has to roll over an 8 to make sure he's finished the dude off. So, like, don't fight dragons. That's my rule to you. Don't fight dragons if you aren't ready for it. But yeah, so that's how that kind of works there. Like I said, you roll dice in this game. If you didn't have dice, each card also has a little number here, so that way you could flip the top card of your deck and roll. I suppose you could also, for some reason, like build your deck around like forcing numbers, but in tournaments you're supposed to roll dice. I think this is only like if you bought just the starter deck and you didn't have dice and your deck was pretty randomized anyway. That would be how you probably play that the most, not for like tournament rules. So let's look at an item. That's the next thing. So Aragorn, maybe Aragorn needs a sword. Let's look at Orcrist. So Orcrist is the sword that Gandalf? Whoops, that's wrong. Go here. Why is Orcrist not working? All the other ones worked. Come on, bruh. There we go. Orcrist is the sword that Gandalf got. I believe, and then Glamdring is Gandalf's sword. Orcrist is the dwarf's, Thorin's sword that he got from the like hidden cache of treasures they got from killing the trolls. And so weapons are cool. So this is a greater item. We'll talk about why that's important. It's got a 4, so when you have this in play, it is worth 4 marshalling points. So it's getting you, if you're, like I said, 20 points to trigger the end of the game. That's, 1/5 of the way there. It's pretty good. Unique means you can only have one of it in your deck. So a lot of these cards, all the unique cards, you only would want one in your deck, but you can only have it if you did. It's a weapon, so that way we know if it triggers off other cards. It gives you a +3 to your prowess. A lot of cards give a maximum, so that way you can't like stack and stack and stack to get someone like ridiculous. So this is like with Aragorn, we get him to a 9, which would be his maximum. But of course, it gives a +4 bonus against orcs, because these are the swords that glow blue when orcs are around. Which is pretty fun. So, how would you put this into play? It's a greater item. So let's find a location where you can play greater items. I've got one of my site decks right next to me. Maybe that'll help me find one that can do it. Greater item. The Dead Marshes. Ooh. As we go through here, I hope you guys appreciate the art in this game as much as I do. I love this classic 90s, hand-painted fantasy art. It just has a vibe that I just really dig, and I hope you guys dig too. But yeah, okay. So the Dead Marshes. In this game, your characters do move. Some people, like in the version that I like to play, which is called Arda, I can show you. You actually use a map to get around instead of using sight cards. So you would just like move your, like have a little thing and like bounce your characters boom, 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 wherever they needed to go. And you'd have all the rules you need for the cards there. And so you'd have this whole map. Not everyone does that. That's more for like specific advanced play or the sealed version, the cube version that I like to play. All right, well, bye, viewer. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. So yeah, greater items. So you go to a location. Your character has to move to get to that location. And so you can only go to Dead Marshes if you're already at Lorien or close by to Lorien. And as you move, these little symbols here, from what type of location it is to the path to get there, that's going to show your opponent's hazards, what they can play against you. So essentially, you have to travel to get this location. Your opponent gets to play stuff against you. Let me see if I got that. Do I have that orc still back up? Find that orc, bro. Yeah, here's my Orc Patrol. So the Orc Patrol, it can be played in any of these locations, whether it's Wilderness, Shadowlands, Darklands, Border Holds, Domains. That's what all these symbols are keyworded to mean. Dead Marshes has a lot of that, has several of those, so you can play the Orcs there, because you've got that tree right there, matches that tree there. You can play the Orcs. Your opponent would get to play a card per character you're traveling with. So in this game, you might actually have several companies moving around the board at different times. So that way you can keep them either like the huge group that's the Fellowship, and you've got like 9 orcs you got to fight off, or you might just be like a small group of just Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli kind of going on their own and trying to be a little more stealthy. So let's say you get to this location, you fought off your opponent's hazards, you then have to fight the automatic attacks at the site. They're usually not as dangerous, but they can be pretty annoying. A lot of it's just that it can just be a little bit more tricky to get through your items. So if your characters survive the travel to the site, and then they get to the site and they survive the automatic attacks, then your characters can play one of those items that's playable there. So you try to go to the Dead Marshes, you fight that Orc Patrol, and then you can get yourself Orc Wrist. Boom. And you just kind of take turns going back and forth, playing cards, or moving to locations, playing cards, trying to get marshalling points, and until you can trigger the end of the game. Typically speaking, you go through your deck pretty quickly in this game, and so much so that they consider you cannot get to that 20-point trigger the free council stage until you've gone through your deck once. And in some variations, you have to have gotten through your deck twice before you can actually trigger that. Because they want you to be able to go through, make the game a little bit longer, and instead of people are just rushing to get there, you kind of have to survive and plot a little bit of what your opponent's throwing at you. Yeah. So I think at this point, I'm just gonna go through other cards that I think are cool and kind of show you how those work. I mean, there's one person watching. Hey, one person. Does that sound fun to you? Do you want to look see other cards? Are you familiar with this game? Do you know anything about this game? Like, it's just you. So just you and me. I can dance if that's what you're looking for. But I kind of want to make sure you're getting something out of it. So, but until the chat catches up, or if you just don't want to chat, I'm just gonna go through other cards that kind of are why this game is so cool. All right, so I think some of those examples of that are things like Return of the King. So this is a permanent event, which means it's a card that you just play and it hangs out on the board forever. It sits on Aragorn. And so let's go through what the card text of this is. And while there's a ton of it and it's complicated, it's not complex, if that makes sense. Like, nothing the game tells you to do is difficult. most of it's not even that confusing. It's just that there's a lot of it when it goes through. So let's see. Just seeing if this went through. Something weird's going on Facebook. 1 second.
Is the dog grumbling?
I think the dog is grumpily grumbling.
Good down there?
Oh, that might be why. None of the, like, Facebook things kept any of my, like, data. Like, didn't, like, it just says, looks like I'm just, like, some dude sharing a stream without any context. So, give me a second. Let me see. So, dead collectible game payers club. Sorry, Chris. I think is it been a month? Can we fix that yet? What does that mean? What did I tweet then? Did I actually tweet? I did tweet. Okay, let's talk about Middle Earth CCG. Okay, so that went through. And then I guess I went into the Middle Earth group. Alright, good to know that that didn't fix. So next time I can be aware of that. Hey! Green Alberto! From Italy! Wow! That's fun. Do they make do you know if they made Middle Earth in Italian? I know it's in a lot of European languages. So that's pretty cool if it is. Because I have a bunch of German cards, and I know there's French cards. So there's probably Italian cards. I feel like that's the kind of... that's next, but thanks for being here. Thanks for coming in. Have you ever played the Middle Earth CCG before? Is this all new to you, or is this a game that you're familiar with? Because this is a game that, like, I've known about for a long time. My background is primarily Magic. I played a lot. I collect a lot of dead games now, but in the 90s, I started with Pokemon right when it came out, and then I quickly went to Magic. And so Middle Earth was still around. Like, you would see, like, old cards in the card shop, because the card shops had been around at that point. And so I was always, like, kind of vaguely aware that this game existed. And then, like, 3 years ago, I started getting buzz online that this game was really cool, we should start collecting it. And I went to Gen Con, and there was a ARDA event, which is like a learn-to-play cube version. So you don't have to have your own cards. You can learn to play, hang out. And I hung out with this guy named Joe, and he showed me all about how it worked, and it was a blast. Like, I read a bunch of rules before I got there, and I actually helped run one of the tables just because it was like, hey, there's how many people know how to play the game? And it was like the guy running the event, and then I was like, I watched like 2 hours of YouTube videos on the flight. And he's like, you know the second most amount, you get to help teach. I was like, figuring it out. And it was a lot of fun. After that, I was like, I have to get more of this game. And so I've slowly but surely collected. I built my cube for this game, and now I'm kind of collecting a couple decks to have. I actually have the challenge decks in the post on their way to me from, I'm not sure where Guayhir ships from, but somewhere in Europe, because I had to pay a lot of money in postage right now. It hurt. But it's okay. It'll be fine. But yeah, so that came around. Okay, it looks like all my Facebook links are updated. Let me see if my chat here... Okay, so that chat's working. So maybe I don't need to have this open as well. Maybe I can just focus on Twitter and then the Streamlabs. I'm still getting used to this whole streaming thing. It's new to me. But we're getting there. We're figuring it out. I'm assuming you can hear me all right, because there have been people coming in and no one said, I can't hear you. So my little speakers, or little dials are going, hey, look, there's audio. And I got some free music from this fun YouTube video so I can vibe. There's no one in the chat. But yeah, Alberto, I'll go back to what I was saying, just talking about cards that I think are really cool and what really drew me to this game. So, this is a game, this is a card, Return of the King. On one hand, it's like, hey, it's worth marshalling points. That's cool. How do you play this card? Unique. Aragorn only. So, alright, we gotta have Aragorn in play. Got it. Unique. I can play one in my deck. Got it. Only playable in Minas Tirith, and only if Denethor II is not in play. Okay, so if you have gotten to Minas Tirith with Aragorn, and you have gotten rid of Denethor, or just made sure no one else played him, then there's no steward, and Aragorn can take the throne back. So literally, your part of this deck is to get Aragorn to Minas Tirith so he can become king again. Once you do that, you play it on him, and he gets all the benefits of being king. He gets +3 influence, so that way he can control characters better. He can be cooler. It's King Aragorn. It's pretty dope. On the same summary, there's other little plots from the game that you can kind of go through. So, like, here's the sapling of the white tree. This is something that's not as big in the movies, but it's really big in the book, is that there is this white tree of Gondor, and it's, like, the most important symbol of the entire, like, lineage of humanity. And if the white tree falls, then it's emblematic that humanity has fallen and humanity is worthless, right? And so in this game, in the books, like, the tree is slowly dying and, like, the leaves are falling, like Beauty and the Beast, like, oh, like the leaves are falling and it's dramatic, and Pippin's like, what's that, Gandalf? And he talks all about it, right? Well, at the end, they plant a sapling of the white tree, and a new one blooms, and it's all about how it's this new life when Aragorn returns as the king. Hey, buddy. My dog, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so you get this card, and it's a major item, so you play at any of those locations, it's a major item. It says it's not playable in a shadow hold or a dark hold, so any, like, evil city, you can't find it. And so you get this item. It's worth 1 point if you're just walking around with it. And your items can also be stored at locations. Typically, you store them at havens, but you could store this at Minas Tirith. And if you do, it's worth more marshalling points, because you're planting it in the place that was planted in the book, the place that's important to be planted. I'm like, okay, cool. So it has, like, a bonus if you do the right thing. But then, there's one more thing you could do if you wanted to build your deck this way. You could play the White Tree. Now, the White Tree is a permanent event. So, once again, you play it on top of something. And you have to have a sage, so an intelligent character, at Minas Tirith. And only if the sapling of the White Tree is already there. If you do, boom, you now have another 5 marshalling points. So 2 from the sapling, 5 from the tree. So you have 7. That's over a quarter of the way there. If you have Aragorn, that's 10. With Return of the King, that's another 5. So you're like, boom, get this tree, get Aragorn, you're making the king. Your deck's rocking and rolling, right? It also turns Minas Tirith into a haven. So instead of bad stuff possibly happening at Minas Tirith, it's now safe. And you can heal characters there, and fewer hazards can be played on you. And so it's just kind of cool. And so maybe you don't want Aragorn to be king. Maybe you want other characters to fix Minas Tirith. Maybe you want the Riders of Rohan to be the ones to take it. So maybe instead of worrying about Return of the King, you just have Theoden find the sapling of the White Tree and take it back to Minas Tirith. And that's the whole game you want to play, is that, like, Theoden's the hero. Yeah, so that's kind of neat stuff. A lot of the game revolves around Aragorn. Granted, he's, like, kind of the main character of the book. Kind of Frodo, kind of Aragorn. Maybe you want, like, okay, so let's just say we're building this Aragorn deck. We got the White Tree, we got Return of the King. What else do we want to put in it? Well, you got to put in the Shards of Narsil, right? the sword, what cut the finger from Sauron, what made the ring come off, right? Elendil's blade. That's not a very good sword. It's only a +1. But let's give you a bonus to your influence. That's pretty cool. 43 marshalling points. Also nice. But in the books, the sword got turned back into, got reforged. And we got to give that to Aragorn, because that's going to make him a real baller, a real badass, right? So let's see, how do we do that? Well, you got to play a card called Reforging. Boom. Permanent event. Alright, Sage only. So if you have a site, that's where information can get played. So like a library card. So there's like a bunch of different locations that are supposed to like emblematic, like places where there's history or libraries. So you have an intelligent character at one of those libraries, you can play Reforging. And essentially all you're doing is you're holding on to the knowledge of how to reforge something. There are a couple different cards that benefit from Reforging. If you don't have anything else, you could just tap your Sage, discard this, Reforging to get any of your items back that have been destroyed and bring them back to play. Excuse me. But we're not trying to reforge just some, like, shield that broke. Nah. We want to reforge Anduril, the Flame of the West. Oh, is it going to show me? Am I spelling it wrong? Aha. Oh, I don't. It's because I don't have all those extra words. Anduril, the Flame of the West. Okay. This is one of those things I was talking about, how there's a ton of text. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this page. That way we can read this. Because it's a little ridiculous. I mean, I love this game, but it is a little ridiculous. Alright. So. You can only play this at a place where information is playable and a Sage. So again, a library with a smart character. They have to make a corruption check, which is a dice roll to see if your character is going to be corrupted by all the items they have on them. So then, once they do it, they're tapped, and they have to go to a haven. If you have stored Narsil, the Reforging, and the Anduril in the same place, you can turn Anduril into the Reforged Sword, which is now worth 4 marshalling points, +1 to his direct influence, +4 to your prowess. And it's going to help your Dunedain Aragorn be prevented from corruption checks. And so these are all things that you can do in this game, and it's not like in like Magic, where like, okay, pay the mana, I put this card into play, pay this mana, put this card into play, I pay this mana, put this card into play. In it, to make this happen, you would have to have like Aragorn go find a Sage, like Elrond, and then he and Elrond have to go to a library to find the blade that was broken. And then they've got to go to another place and learn how to reforge it. Then they've got to go to a third place to put it all back together. That's what I mean about this game being like, takes turns, it takes time. It kind of feels like a role-playing game when you have to do all that stuff. And it's just dope, man. It's just so cool. Alright. Well, Green Alberto, if you're still listening in, I appreciate you being here. I mean, it says that you're here, so I assume you're still listening. And I appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and following me, that helps me out a lot. I'm at a whole whopping 12 followers, so every little bit helps. So if you wouldn't mind hitting that follow button, I would appreciate that. I'm going to try to do something every Wednesday. Talk about dead card games. This week, it's Middle Earth. We'll see where we go from there. Now, you know what I'm going to try to do? I wonder if I should try to play the game a little bit and just kind of walk through kind of how the game works. Let's try it. I'm going to clean up some cards and pull out one of my decks, and we'll see what we can do. Alright, so let me zoom this back so that's right. Go to my tabletop view. Move my bottle. We'll pull up my deck. Sight cards. Sideboard. Alright, so I'm gonna separate out all my minion cards. I think it's all separated already, and just play against myself. This is not an official solo variant. It's one that people have worked on a couple different ways, just to like see how well your deck goes. I hope that I am gonna like go through the right sites, but I'm pretty sure that I guess if you built your deck wrong and your opponent only went to sites very safely that your deck didn't have, you'd kind of be in that same problem anyway. So let's see how it goes. Let me shuffle up my hero side. Shuffle up my hazard side. I'll set that up there and set these right here. That's my deck, my sights. All right, so you start the game, you can play up to 5 characters, and you have 20 marshalling points to go with. So this is my deck that's all about me wanting to I want to essentially be Rohan. So I started off like, I want to play Theoden, I want to play Éowyn, and I want to play Éomer. That's what I want to do. Those are the cards I wanted to play, and I kind of started with that idea. So I figured what goes with them. Well, Éowyn, characters go with her, Faramir, and Merry. Those are all characters that kind of go together, right? So that's the deck I want to play, some of my favorite characters. So we look at the points. Theoden is 6, Merry's 4, Faramir's 5, Éowyn is 2, Éomer's 3. I'm at my 20. That's how the game starts. You get 20 to build from, and we're going to go there. I'm immediately going to build them into 2 companies. Remember I talked about how their direct influence here can help them, or sorry, their direct influence here, the little hand, will help them control other characters. So we're going to pop Theoden and Éomer are going to hang out together. So they're going to be one company. And then these guys are going to be another company as well. Faramir, Éowyn, and Merry. And we're going to have... Is that right? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. You also start with 2 minor items. So these are just items that give you a small bonus to help you figure stuff out what you want to do. What we're going to do is we're going to give... I think we're going to give... No, we're giving Éomer the horn. And we're going to give this shield to Merry, because it's not warrior only, so anyone can grab it. So Merry's got the shield. Éowyn and Faramir are just kind of hanging out. Alright. Put my characters into play. We're going to play, try to figure this out. So I'm just going to draw... Normally your hand size is 8 in this game, so I'm only going to draw 4 from this deck, and we'll do 4-ish from the villain deck every time it's time. So I'll draw my 4 cards. And my 4 cards are kind of giving me an idea of what I want to do in the game. In the game, everyone starts at Rivendell. So I'm starting at this location. Both my characters are there. And let me pull up the rules. I had a little rule book right next to me here a second ago. 1 second. Yeah. You gotta love the 90s. You know, it's a game from the 90s. Because you gotta have a rule book. Size of a card, so it fits in your box. Okay. First part of the turn, untap phase. Boom. Nothing untap. That's cool. Organization phase. That's where you can like move your characters around. Figure out if they want to group up differently. So that's what I've got on the side. Yep. These are how my two guys are. They're two different companies. Long event phase. There's cards in this game called long events. When you play them, they stick around for a whole turn. So it'll go away on your next turn. The movement hazard phase. So this is where I'm going to choose where I'm going to go with the two characters. And it might be like, how do you figure that out? Like, how do you know where you want to go? Like, the world's your oyster. How do you do it? I'm going to look at the cards in my hand and let that kind of figure out where I want to go. So one of the cards in my hand is the Great Shield of Rohan. So let me pop that up for you. Great Shield of Rohan. Boom. So this is a major item that's a shield. It works with warriors, and it helps them fight off strikes better than normal. It's also worth 2 marshalling points. As we talked earlier, I'm trying to get to 20. I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from my characters just being on the board. So we're already rocking and rolling. We just want to get there as fast as we can. So I know I want to send Aomer someplace that can play a major item. So I look through my different sites. And the thing is, all my sites here, I actually want to get over to Minas Tirith, the Gondor area, as fast as possible. But in order to get there, I need to go to Lorien Fort first, because all my cards care about Lorien. Now that's where they're closest to. So, both of my companies are essentially one company right now. Yeah, because they're all going to the same place. So they're all going to be going from Rivendell to Lorien. So, I've got 4 cards in my hand. I'm going to have a 4-card villain hand or hazard hand to assume that, like, you know, a fairly lucky 1-in-1 split. Let me pull up Lorien so that way you guys can see how that works. So, I've got my sight card. Oh my god, Lorien's got a stupid symbol. Okay, Lorien, right? So we got Lorien over here. Oop, Lorien. So my path to go from Rivendell to Lorien is tree, building, tree. So there's 3 trees in the way. If you're playing the simple rules, you just go from there to there. It teaches you how to do it. If you're playing the really advanced rules, you could use the map. I'll just pull the map up real fast if you're curious. So I'll zoom in. And I'll grab around. So I know that this is where Rivendell is. We'll zoom in. Hey, look. There's Rivendell. That's where we're going. And I would look on the map and be like, boom. To get to Lorien, I have to go through this tree place and this like building place to get to Lorien. So there's a tree, a building, and a tree. And that's how I figure out what the sites are in the path. Simple enough? Not too crazy. Like I said, there's lots of steps, but none of the steps are like crazy. They're just like, okay, there's steps you gotta remember. Got it. Okay. So I got tree, building, tree. Cool. Then the Lorien card. Whoop, let me get this out of the way. Lorien card has a 2 facing me. So I draw 2 cards. And there's a 2 facing my enemy. So they get to draw 2 cards. And now it's their turn to play hazards on me. Since I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters traveling, they get to play 5 cards against me. Hobbits only count as 1, or only count as half, but they round up. So if I had like 4 hobbits, would only count as 2. So hobbits can kind of work together because they're weaker. It's kind of a bonus for them. So since I have to play 5 cards, I'm going to try to be as mean as I possibly can. So let's see if I can do this. First thing I'm going to do is play this long event called Doors of Night. There are 2 cards in the game that you kind of choose what your deck wants to do, if this is something you're interested in. Doors of Night essentially makes the game nighttime. And there are a bunch of cards that queue off of that, or do something better if it's nighttime. To be similar, there's Gates of Morning, which is a resource card, a hero card, that makes it daytime. And it kind of destroys, they each destroy each other, and they kind of affect other things. So, kind of cool. So that's my first card I'm going to play. And you play 1 card at a time, and you have to resolve all of those. So, whew, my characters have to fight a lot. First card is Orc Warriors. So the Orc Warriors. Oh, it's Orc-Warriors? That's weird. There's a lot of weird stuff about this game. I do like it, but it's weird. Okay, Orc Warriors. I can play them because there's a tree in the path. They're playable. They have 3 strikes. 3 strikes. So that means that they are going to fight 3 people. I have to put 3 people in front of them to fight them. They're not that tough. So I'm actually going to put Mary, Eowyn, and Eomer in front of them. Let me get 2 dice real fast, so I can do this the right way. Alright, so these are some brand new Shadowrun dice. Haven't used these yet, so we'll see how they go. Hopefully they don't suck on me and my characters don't all die. Alright, 2 dice. So, I also have my cards here to help me figure out how this works. Okay, so, you also have a little chart on the back of the card booklet to tell you how to resolve combat. So, each of these characters has to fight. They can tap, and they get to use their full strength to fight off the orcs. If they don't tap, they get a -3 to their strength. If they were hurt or anything else, bad stuff could happen. Since I don't want these characters to die, and I'm really not trying to play any cards this turn, I'm just trying to get to Lorien to start the rest of the game for me, and then split up and make the combat not so hard. I am going to probably tap most of my characters. So Eomer's going to tap, so he's going to keep his 3 against the 7. He only needs a 4 to beat him. I rolled a 6. It's going to do it. Eowyn's going to tap to do the same thing. She's got a 2 versus a 7, need a 5. She does it. Now, Mary has only got a 1 because he's a hobbit. So he's definitely going to tap, so he doesn't get any penalties. Now, I can tap the shield to give him a +1, and I'm probably going to go ahead and do that right now. So he's got a 2, so I need a 5. So I got 6. So since all 3 of these fought the orcs and they all won, the orcs are killed. They're not just avoided, they're actually defeated. Now the orcs have a 1 in the top corner, so I actually keep these, and they add to my marshalling points to try to trigger the end of the game. So I'm going to hold on to those. Hazard player gets to play 3 more cards. Oh. Ooh, I can't play that card. So I can't play this card. So I went through 2 trees. We've got hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are tougher. They are a 10. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and... Do I have any cards in my hand that will help? I don't think so. No. They are 2 strikes, so I'm going to have Faramir and Theoden fight them off. I'm going to have them both tap, so he has to get a 5. 7 will do it. Faramir taps. He's also a 5, so he needs a 5. He gets it. So I kill the hobgoblins. Boom! We're doing all right. Okay. Enemy player can still play 2 cards against me. Luckily, they don't have that many cards they can do, so they've only got 1 more that they can do. And so they get to play the Orc Warband. Now, the Orc Warband is 5 strikes. And it's only a 4. Let me pull that up. Let me show you what this one looks like. So Orc Warband's right here. It's only a 4, but if they've already faced an orc, which they have, it gets +3. So each of my characters has to fight. Now, they're not untapped, so they're not getting a -3, but since they're starting the turn fight, starting the round tapped, they do get a -1. So all my characters have to face a 7th strength attack at a -1. So, start with Eowyn. So she is a 1 against a 7, so she needs a 6. She rolled a 6. Whew. And was a 3, so now he's a 2. Needs a 5. Is that a Snake Eyes? 5. So 5 plus 2 is 7. Whew, you guys made it. Faramir, he's a... Oh, that's Merry. Ooh. Merry needs to beat a 7 by himself. Nope. So Merry fails. So since Merry failed his check, he is now going to be wounded. Make sure I have that right. Yeah, so now he has to make a body check. So what happens is he is turned upside down. And my opponent, which is me, because it's just me playing, rolls. And so he rolled a 5 and a 1. So if that number was higher than this character's body, the character would die. Now, hobbits are pretty tough, actually. So he has a 9 plus 1 from the shield. So he has a 10. So I'd have to roll a 10 or high, or 11 to kill this character. So he's just wounded, which we can heal at the Haven. So that's not too bad, but he's not dead. Let's go. Theoden, he needs to get he's a 4, so he needs to get a 3. He's got it. Faramir's the same way. He's got it. Ooh, 12. Could have fought a lot of people with that. Now, here's the trick, is that since Pippin, or Merry, got hurt and didn't actually kill the orcs, I don't get points for this one, so it just goes to the discard pile. I don't have any more cards, so I'm just going to hold on to these and put these face down. And now all my characters have gotten to Lorien. Yay, we did it! We're hanging out with Galadriel, woo! This is where if I would be able to play cards that said stuff like, playable at Lorien. Lorien doesn't have any text that tells me that I can play other cards, so I'm really not able to do much else here because it's just a haven. Most of the havens don't let you play cards there because the game wants you to go out and play the fight the scarier stuff or interact with the more dangerous parts of the world to get something, right? So I don't have any cards in my hand that help me do that. Nope. Alrighty. What's next on the turn? Sight phase, I'm not doing anything in the sight. It's in the turn. At this point, I would discard down to my maximum hand size. I'm doing my maximum hand size at 4, because I'm not really playing any cards. So I'm going to discard... I want that, I want that, I want that. I'm going to discard... Rescue... No, I'm going to discard Praise to Elbereth and a friend or foe. For under 3. Go to my next turn. All my characters untap. Since this is a haven, my wounded character heals, which means he goes 1 step up. So since he was wounded, he becomes tapped. Next turn, he'll untap and get to do more. So now it's time for me to figure out where my characters are going to go. Essentially, what I want to do is I want to send... I want to send 2 of my characters to Minas Tirith, so that way I can play a Palantir. And then I want to send 2 of my characters to a location as a major item, so that way I can play the Great Shield of Rohan. So that means we're going to send this crew with Merry towards Edoras. No, we're going to send yeah, we'll send these guys to Edoras, and these guys to Minas Tirith. So Lorien's going to go away, and my character's going to attempt to move out. We're going to essentially do 2 mini hazard phases each. These guys are going to Edoras. We each draw 1 card. Oh, so my bad guy cards, they would have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4. Doors of Night goes away because the long event phase has passed. I draw 1 card for Minas Tirith, and my opponent draws 1 card for Minas Tirith. Let me pull that card up so you can see it. Boom. So what's there? The path to get there, so, is tree, building. So there's like a border hold, freehold, and it's a border hold. So from Lorien to there, so it's haven, trees, there. Okay. If we're using the map, we would use that more, but I'm just using the basic path, so it's these paths. So what is my opponent going to play? So since I have 3 characters going, he can play 3 hazard cards against me. So it looks like he can't play the Orc. Nope. Twilight's not going to do me any good. So Twilight's not going to do me any good. And so the Orc Patrol can go. So let's see what an Orc Patrol looks like. In case you hadn't noticed, my hazard side is an Orc deck. There's lots of Orky cards that I can play. Let me clear up a couple of cards so that way I can make it easier to see what cards I'm picking. Don't need these anymore. These aren't cards I'm playing in this deck. Alright. Orc Patrol. It says Orcs, there's 3 strikes. Wait, why did I send them to Edoras? That's not right. Hold on. We're not going to Edoras. We're going to the Dead Marshes. So I would draw 1 more. They draw 2 more. However, it's more action cards, so I'm not actually going to get hurt by anything. So they only get to play 1 hazard against me. It works with 3 strikes. Since I need to have characters a lot untapped to be able to play cards, you're going to see how this is a little bit more dangerous. 3 strikes, so each of my characters is going to have to face 1 strike. I need one of my characters untapped to be able to fight the undead and go through, so since this is a 6, Mary will do his first attack. He's got a -1 because he's tapped. He needs a 6 or higher. Mary's got it. Eowyn is going to stay untapped, so she is at a 0, so she also needs a 6 or higher. She's got it. Eomer is at a 3. I'm going to leave him untapped, so he needs a 6 or higher as well. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. And all 3 beat the Orcs. They're discarded. My opponent would normally get to play 2 more cards against me, but I didn't have any other cards to play, just due to the nature of drawing cards weirdly. So now I'm at the Dead Marshes. Now that I'm at the Dead Marshes, I have to face the automatic attacks. There are 2 strikes of 8 prowess, and any character that's wounded has to face a corruption check. Hopefully I don't get wounded, so I don't have to face one, but if I do get wounded, I'll get to show you how that works. So, since I need one of them to survive, we're going to have Eowyn tap, but Eomer, no, actually they're going to both untap through these fights. 8 prowess is pretty rough, so we'll kind of hope for the best. Do I have any cards? Did I draw any cards to make that better? Nope. No, I do not. So 8 prowess. You know what? I'm going to have Mary and Eomer take the strikes, and Eowyn is not going to be involved. So Mary, his shield's untapped, is at a 0 because of his minus. I'm going to tap the shield to give him a +1. So I need a 7 or better with Mary. 4 and 5. Oof. Mary fails, so he's going to get wounded. Rolled a 9. Ooh, because of the shield, he has a body of 10, so he's just wounded. And now we have to do a corruption check. Every card at the bottom of them has a corruption number. So let's look at this shield. Well, maybe it's from a different set. Okay, Shield of Ironbound Ash. So this shield has a little -1 down here, has a little 1 here, so it has 1 corruption point. Essentially, you would add up all the items on the character, and you have to roll over that number. Pretty easy to do with just like a shield. Also, Pippins or Hobbits are pretty hardy, so they actually get a bonus to that. So like, you look at Mary, he's got a +2, he can't fail. So I roll the corruption check, but it doesn't matter for him. Because he's always going to get a +2 to like avoid that. You look at someone like Look at something like the One Ring, though. So that's like the, you know, the most corruptible item in the world. It has a 6, so you have to roll over a 6. And if your character has anything else making it, like, corrupting it, like, it's going to make it harder. But Mary can't fail because he's only got a 1. He's got a +2, so he's going to be fine. So we're going to have Eomer tap to face the other strike. He's at a 3 against an 8, so he's a 5. He's got a 7. He hits it. All right. Gone through the site, fought the hazards, fought the item attacks. Now I can tap the site and tap a character to explore it and play one of the items. The Dead Marshes says I can play a greater item, so I'm going to play the Great Shield of Rohan onto Eowyn. Great Shield of Rohan. It's warrior only. Eowyn is a warrior scout. Gives her a +2 to her body, so she's going to be at a 9. And I can tap this so she can stay untapped when she's fighting someone. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And if she's wounded, she has to tap. So hopefully you don't get wounded. All right, now we have these guys going to Minas Tirith. Important place to go. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, okay. So they're going to Minas Tirith. I draw 2 cards for the good guy's side, because Minas Tirith has that. Whoop. And the enemy gets to draw 2 as well. Since we're going to these sites, do I have any enemy cards I can play? I can only play 2 cards because there's only 2 guys going. None of these cards are really cards I want to play right now. Can the Orc card play there? Nope. Nope. Can the Corpse Candles play there? Corpse Candles can play there. Okay, so we're going to play 2 Corpse Candles, 1 on each of them. Or one first. What's a Corpse Candle? Let's find out. It sounds not good. Corpse Candle. Undead. 1 strike. Before the defending character is selected, every character in the company makes a corruption check. Okay. Again, I would roll for my characters, but none of the characters are holding any items, so they have to be a 0. They roll that no matter what. So, first things first, we're going to have Faramir go up against this orc. It's a 7. He's a 5. I'm not going to have him tap. I'm going to let him stay on tap, so he's going to get a -3, so he needs to get a 5 or better. Rolls a 6. He does it. Theoden, I'm going to have him tap, because I only need 1 person alive to play a card here. And so he gets an 8. We kill the Corpse Candle. Boom! Hey, that's more points. We're at 4 points already. 4. Oh, wait. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. See how you can get points pretty quickly in this game, especially if your opponent plays enemies that you're able to fight. Now, why did we go to Minas Tirith? It's because this Minas Tirith doesn't say you can play anything there, so what's the point? Well, there are other cards that you can play there, so I'm going to actually tap Faramir and play the Palantir of Minas Tirith. Palantir, 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 Palantir. Alright. So, playable only at Minas Tirith. It's a special item, so it has special rules for it. Essentially, this one is just, you just have to be at Minas Tirith to play it. Only characters that have that say they can use a Palantir can use this, so my characters can't, but it is worth 2 points. So, you're just going to hold on to that and hang out this place. And that's kind of how the game works. You just go back and forth, going to new locations, playing cards, and trying to get as much cool stuff as you can, right? Ooh, I got an achievement! I got a Chivo, like clockwork. That's fun. I like achievements. Makes me feel fancy. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of how the game works. Back and forth, playing cards. Once your deck goes through the first time, you can then call the free cancel at 20 points. If you were playing with your opponent, you're actually drawing a lot more cards, you'd go through it a lot faster. You'd also discard cards either your turn that you didn't want, so that way you could, like, force your game to get there. But yeah, that's how Middle Earth is played. Let me shuffle these back up, clean this up a little bit. Make sure that my starting stuff stays out there. Starting stuff. Now there's more stuff that you can do. Like, I didn't go into like some of the different types of items. I didn't go into sideboard. Sideboarding is wild in this game because games are so long. You don't use your sideboard from game to game. You have this separate stack of 20 cards that you can pull into your deck during the main game. There are cards like let me go back to my other view, PDFs. So there are cards like, let me go to this view. We find smoke rings. That's one of the cards I play. So this card, smoke rings, it lets you pick a resource or character from your sideboard and put it into your deck and then shuffle. Also, any of your wizards, once they're in play, it's a game rule. It's not on the wizard card, but it's a game rule. You can tap them to take 3 cards from your sideboard and put them into your discard pile. So that way, is it 3 cards? Hold on. Is that even in the base game? I don't know if that's in the base game. Sideboard? I feel like that came later. I feel like that can't be in the main deck, the original deck. No. Nah. That came later. But I think you put 3 cards from your sideboard into your discard pile, so they'll come back on the next time through your deck. Or you can tap and put 1 card and shuffle it into your deck. So you'll get it on this playthrough. So what that means is you can either have cards in your sideboard to like fight your opponent's strategies, or you can wait until your deck's been thinned out a little bit by playing cards to get the cards you want for later in the game in there. So maybe there's a card like, I don't know, Cracks of Doom. So we got this card, Cracks of Doom. What's it do? It says, if you have the 1 ring at Mount Doom, you can make a corruption check and try to throw it in to win the game. That's pretty good. But you don't want to draw this in your opening hand. You can't play this to the end of the game. So you'd be holding this in your hand the whole time. That's awful. So you would keep this in your sideboard, and you wouldn't shuffle it into your deck until you got the 1 ring into play. And sometimes you wait until the 1 ring's in your hand, and you don't play the 1 ring until the last possible moment, so that way your opponent can't try to kill the ring bearer. My ring deck also plays Gollum's Fate, which is the other way to win with the 1 ring. So you got Gollum. I play Gollum in the main deck, so I can try to draw him out, but then I get to play Gollum's Fate. Oop, did that the wrong way. Gollum's Fate. If the 1 ring and Gollum are both during Mount Doom, Gollum falls in, because he does the thing from the book. So maybe I wouldn't... I put this in, only shuffle this in after I have Gollum in play, so that way I make sure I'm doing it the right way. That's pretty cool. Like, it lets you wait until you already have things going on before you put more stuff in. Or maybe your characters, like, you don't plan on playing more characters in your deck unless they die. So you have characters in your sideboard that you just shuffle in if you get to a point that your characters are dying. And that's pretty cool, too. Yeah. Just kind of talking to myself here, so I'm not quite sure where I want to go next with this. I wanted to stream for 2 hours. I got to 1 hour and 20. Green Alberto, you're the only one here, so I think I'm just going to stick with that and be kind of happy with it. And let this be a nice, hour, 20-minute stream. and be happy with that. I talked about the game, talked about things I like about the game. Ooh, no, come back, PDFs. Talked about things I like about the game, and I think I'm going to be happy with that. I went through a play, like a how to play kind of. It's not super in-depth, but it kind of shows you what the game's going to play like and see if that's something you're interested in. It even kind of showed you, like, you could play solo. I'm working on something. There's this thing called Arda, which is one thing I really wanted to talk about if people were here and interested. So I think I might wait and make this a whole stream just dedicated to Arda, especially if I get to test out my co-op version. Unlike other games where people really like playing sealed, or they make a cube in Magic so they can play a different game every time instead of everyone having to bring a deck with them, you would build what's called in this game an Arda deck. And it was created by that guy Joe. I believe it was created by him that I talked about earlier, and he built this version so that way you can kind of do that. In it, instead of having, you just have a big deck that everyone shares, or several decks that everyone shares. One big one that's mixes up all the resource cards and the minion cards, so that's going to be the decks you draw from. And there's also, you draft characters to start the game, and then there's what's called roaming characters. So there's like a pot in poker. They just face up. And essentially, they're at their home site. So if you go to those sites, you can pick those characters up while they're just hanging out. And you're drawing cards little by little, getting those those marshalling point cards, and going around the map trying to secure points, fight bad guys, and make things work. And it's a lot more random, so you're kind of like going where the cards tell you, not necessarily trying to come with a deck that's pre-built. And it's a very, very cool. It's much more like a board game than a traditional collectible card game, but it's still very, very neat. And my goal is to kind of do what I did there, where I pulled off the villain cards, is try to pull off the hazards and make a co-op version. So that way the two players, maybe you set it that like 2 players need to get to 40 marshalling points before 5 turns is over. Like, that can be pretty intense. Or you give each player a 30 card deck, and you have to get to 40 marshalling points before you run out of deck. Or maybe you just run out of deck and see how many points you can get and try to get better the next time. Or maybe you start with certain characters and you see how well you can do it. So that way you kind of have, different ways to play. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to do, because co-op's something I'm really interested in right now. It's just a different way to play, and I'm digging a lot of games that have that option. So I would love to be able to bring a co-op version to the Middle Earth CCG, especially because, like, the Lord of the Rings LCG is a co-op game, and people really dig that. So being able to kind of bridge the gap between those two for people to be able to play that would be really neat. But yeah, so I'm Trans Sterling. You can see me on my Twitter. Oh, it's over on that side. I'm in the Facebook groups. That's probably how you got here, if you know anything about me. And I'm going to try to stream on Wednesday nights and just talk about card games. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was fun. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.